This meeting is called to order. I don't see my script. Silly me. Here we go. No? I don't have the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting is called to order. Welcome. And I don't remember the exact words of the Open Public Meeting Act, but we have been.
We honor it in all of its ways.
But, yes, the notices have been posted, and yes, if you could read it, thank you. One would think.
Okay. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 30th, 2017. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We would all stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Councilman Charles Onijaka. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it
stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocations. O God, the creator and the redeemer of all the faith, hear our supplications, and through thy infinite love and mercy, gracious, grant us the strength and the power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all time. Amen.
Madam Master Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase?
Here.
Councilwoman Francois?
Here.
Mayor Kramer?
Here.
Councilman Onijaka?
Here.
Councilman Prasad?
Here.
Councilwoman Robinson? Councilwoman Sherman?
Here.
Councilman Vasanella?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
We are now on to commendations and proclamations. There are none, but I understand Councilman Wright wishes to interject, or actually Deputy Mayor Wright. Yes, sir.
This will be short. Okay. It has come to my attention that there's a handout being circulated around town. All garbage, but one line hurt my family, and it hurt them deeply. This is that line. The reason he is a councilman is because he is the son-in-law of a former mayor, Bill Howard. Bill even said he's a pitiful councilman. This line is not needed, nor appropriate, nor is it politics. This is just nasty. Most importantly, it's not true. My father-in-law explained that some people have no conscience. They just don't think. To some, the only way to win an election is to smear the other opponent. Carl, stay above board. It works better for you. To stay true to yourself, and you will prevail. I confronted the person who I thought wrote this. My wife said, Carl, this is what they want you to do. Get off message. Let your record speak for yourself. My wife reminded me. My father-in-law, William Howard, is 85 years old, and he just lost his wife of 67 years 3 months ago. They were college sweethearts. Now, if you involve him in your garbage, why? It's not right. Did he do anything to you? No. Does he mean anything to you? Well, if you wrote this, the answer is no. And he's right. Some people just don't think. He said to me, Carl, when I was mayor, when I was deputy mayor, and when I was a councilman, I let my record speak for itself. Now that I'm not those, he said, I let my record speak now for me. Now, I will let my record speak for me. If you want to go out and tear somebody down, come after me. I have big boy pants. The wife might take them some time to do something, but I wear them all the time, my big boy pants. When she told me to get in the car, she took my big boy pants and said, you better listen to me. Better than that, you know what your father-in-law would say. Let your record speak for you. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. The next item is public discussion. Do I have a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion on it, all in favor of opening the meeting to public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are now open for public discussion. Anyone wishing to speak about matters related to government may come up and speak. 5 minutes a person, no yielding of time. You may only come up once, and I will be strict about the 5 minutes. Please come up and state your name and address. Yeah, we don't have a microphone. This is not our smoothest council meeting yet. So for everyone, the clerk was away last week, and she was here Memorial Day preparing for this meeting. So if a couple of things slip, it is not due to lack of effort on her part. She's been above and beyond the call of duty, and we appreciate her every day, but I guess we've had a little trip this time. Here we go.
Good evening. Diane McKay, 21 Erie Drive in Somerset, New Jersey. Back on December 11th in 2007, there was a discussion about closing off a section of Erie Drive and Julie Court. Much of the public comments then have not changed much 10 years later. It was determined then that there would be a temporary closure. And I'm curious as to what came about that decision that 10 years later, on January 24th, this council voted in a unanimous decision to block off Ari and Julie to vehicles. Ask the council and mayor, it's because of excessive speeding. Haven't put in an OPA request as to how many speeding tickets or accidents have occurred since then. I'm awaiting on those results. Until then, there is nothing that is going to convince me that this was not a political favor. We currently have a council member who lives on a private road that is blocked off to through traffic with the chain there. I believe the same council member hooked up the Julie Court residents as well, and now it's just my opinion, but with election on the horizon, I don't put the political favor aside. So these chains, as far as blocking off one class of citizens from another, you've also caused more congestion on 27. You've put my life, the life of my family, the life of others on Erie Drive in jeopardy, because this restricts emergency vehicles from getting to the back of Erie Drive in a quicker manner. Although the mayor has assured me that firefighters, et cetera, have the keys to these chains, it's not a comforting thought to know if my house is burning down that they need to use keys, to open the chains to get in. How many times have you forgotten your keys when you left the house? What about if North Brunswick has to assist in a fire? Kendall Park EMT, do they all have keys to these chains? You left us with one way in and out. There are frequent accidents on Route 27, usually blocking our entrance. Then what? Every other complex has two ways in, but not us. Back in 2007, I just want to know why the change of vote 10 years later when some of you were on the council back then and you are still on now. There are so many wrongs to this blockage, it's hard to find one right. The mayor has given me an option to change my child's bus stop, but why? Here's an option: make Julie Court and Deborah Drive the gated community they want to have, and have the Julie Court children walk to Westminster for the bus. If they don't mind making my child walk a farther distance, shouldn't bother anyone else if the same rules apply. My husband, being disabled and in a wheelchair, has no way around the chains for well over a month now. Handicap ramps should have been installed with as much haste as the chains were. Also, with your January 24th resolution, it says notice of the closing would be posted and that signs would be up, and that's not the case, causing many cars to almost go into the chains before they realized it was there. Bottom line, taxpayers footing the bill for chains to block out residents. You did not take the concerns of all your constituents into the haste of the decision. And I'm saddened that my children have to be witness to such a terrible decision. There could have been a much better way to handle this. Instead, you chose locking out residents of one class to benefit another. Hopefully, in Ward 3, there's a change that can bring some common sense back to the council. I will continue to exhaust all my avenues to make right by this. And hopefully this council will see the unfairness of the blockage and the problem that they will cause in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hello, my name is Kelly Zaire. I'm on 18 Erie Drive. I'm here tonight to once again respectfully ask that the chains be removed from Erie Drive, blocking access to Julie Court. Some valid concerns have been raised about the installation of a chain on Erie. Some are regarding taxpayer money being used to block access to a public road. Some are based on the concern of slower response times for emergency services. I understand that the fire department has a key to unlock the chains, but I would rather that they come straight to my apartment in the case of a fire instead of having to stop, hop out, and unlock a couple of locks. And in the case of a multiple alarm fire, with other districts responding, what then? Do they have a key? If a fire is in front of the complex, what about those in the back? Are we trapped until the fire is out? A single access point to a complex this large is dangerous for us all. I know that when the complex was built, there was only the one entrance. However, if you look at township population numbers, in 1980, 4 years after the complex was built, there was a population of 31,358. In 2015, there's an estimated population of 66,158, more than doubling the amount of residents in the township. When the issue of the chain was brought up in 2007, several people on the town council, including the mayor, said that turning left onto 27 was nearly impossible. These are very valid concerns, but my major one is something that all of us, the Township Council, the residents of Erie Drive, and the residents of Julie Court can all agree on: the safety of our children. I can no longer drive my children to the bus stop unless I want to turn left on 27, which we all know is difficult even at the slowest of times. Turning left on 27 not only puts my children at risk, it puts the children at the bus stop at Reller and 27 at risk, with more traffic going through there. On April the 5th, the third luring incident in the township in less than 2 months was reported. So clearly, the bus stops need to have parents' supervision, yet I can't drive there. My younger son has been bullied this year, and it has been far worse since I can't drive to pick him up. In one day, he had his science board damaged, his ceramic pot that he made in art was destroyed, and then the kid put his hands on my boy, choking him and threatening him to not tell anyone what had happened. I wasn't there to protect him because I couldn't drive to pick him up. I agree that there needs to be something done with the speeding on Julie Court, but I don't know why speed humps were not tried in the first place. Speed humps would not block public access to a public road. Speed humps would not affect the response times of emergency vehicles. Speed humps would not trap those in Ari and Reller in case of emergency. Speed humps would, however, slow down traffic, protecting all of the children, those living on Julie, and those who have the bus stop on Julie. Speed humps would allow me then to protect my children. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Joseph Scappa. I'm an attorney from East Brunswick, and I'm here on behalf of my client, Tyree Higgins. I had written a letter to the mayor and council back on November the 17th outlining Mr. Higgins' position as the owner of certain property in the township. It's block number 97, lot 42, 145 Delmonico Avenue in the township. Mr. Higgins bought this property as a third-party individual and is applying for a relaxation of restriction on the deed that's been imposed on this particular piece of property by the township. My letter of November the 17th, which was acknowledged and logged in by the clerk's office, I assume it's been stamped November the 18th, had not been responded to, and then I called Mr. Rayon and also Mr. Vorlacher because his office referred me to Mr. Rayon. Basically, what my client is asking, he realizes he nevertheless must go before the zoning board because this is an undersized lot, but he is an individual with a little girl. I expected him here this evening, and he may have been a little late getting here. I don't see him here, but he intends, if the council were to waive the deed restriction and allow him to go before the zoning board and gets approval for an undersized lot, which seems to comply with the character of the neighborhood, to build a house and become a resident of Franklin Township. Right now, he lives in New Brunswick with his family. I had made copies of documents that I had forwarded with my November 17th letter. One is the regular meeting minutes from December the 12th of 2000, where the council had acted and removed restrictions on two properties for a third-party applicant, and also a chart of approximately 8 other pieces of property where the township had taken action to remove a deed restriction on a piece of property, as opposed to compelling the third-party applicant to sell it to Habitat for Humanity or not be able to build on it. I was just looking for a response from the council. I wasn't sure if this was going to be an agenda meeting. I'm sorry, Mr. Volker. Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I can get before, if this is a regular meeting or if this is a workshop meeting. I assume it's a regular business meeting, and that's why I chose to address the mayor and council this evening. I don't know if the mayor and council had an opportunity to review my letter of November 17th, which outlined what I thought to be the existing law and the statutes and statutory authority for the council to act. I know after talking to Mr. Rayon, he was of the opinion that there would not be a waiver, but obviously he's a professional hired by the board and by the council, and I thought if I came before the council and the mayor, I might be able to present this in a more cogent fashion to everyone.
If I can, I did speak to Chiappa, am I
Yes.
pronouncing it correctly? This is just to give council some background, this is a piece of property that was owned by Mr. Howard, Walter Howard. There was a resolution that authorized the waiver of the deed restriction conditioned upon him selling the property or giving the property without consideration to Habitat for Humanity. Mr. Chiappa's client bought this property for $5,000. That's
correct.
So,
Correct.
so it was fairly obvious to me when I read it, and to Mr. Bornlacher, who I discussed it with, that you must have understood that it had a deed restriction on it because a building lot in Franklin certainly is not worth $5,000. And as I told you, it was has been the council's position as long as I have been here, and I was not here for a brief couple of years in the last 17, that we were allowing the deed restrictions in those circumstances where the properties were being sold to somebody who was going to build affordable housing. So that's been our position, and I didn't just give you that advice because I decided to do that off the top of my head.
The matter
You can
was
imagine, I
reviewed
spoke
by,
to the town, I
right,
talked
and
to
the matter was
the
reviewed by the
manager.
Land Use Subcommittee of Council, and the request was, it was recommended that the request not be granted. This particular deed restriction was placed upon the property with the consideration when the property was sold by the township and conveyed to Mr. Howard, that the reason why the deed restriction was placed on it, it was an undersized lot, and the only manner in which this property would be developed is if adjoining properties could be obtained to make it a conforming lot. And so this matter, and I apologize if that was not conveyed to you, there must have been somewhere along the way, and I appreciate that, and we've
I
had this
did.
discussion.
Well, when
I-
I called, yeah, but I
Well,
had to.
the answer, it was conveyed to you by me. the
Correct.
township
What I'm
attorney.
saying is, in November, this matter was reviewed by the Land Use Committee of Council, and the decision was made to deny the request for that consideration, and that was, I believe, reported back to council at a council meeting as part of the minutes of that committee. And so, as Mr. Raynone has said, clearly, a $5,000 lot is not a building lot. I believe that, and my recent work that I've been required to do for another matter, that building lots in that particular area of town are in the $60,000 to $75,000 range. So, and the consideration granted here was $5,000 for this property. I think that your client should have known that there was something along the lines of restrictions that would not be lifted. I understand that you say that there's a history of the Township Council lifting those deed restrictions specifically for conveying those properties to Habitat for Humanity.
I'm looking
Sir,
at two.
sir, excuse me. I'm sorry. 5-minute limit.
All right.
Sorry, your time is up. I know you know Mr. Renone's number and Mr. Vornlocker's number, and you can discuss it with them.
I will. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, but if I allot you more time, I've got a lot of people that are going to be mad at me.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Viral Patel. I reside at 8 Julie Court. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the committee for passing the ordinance on February 14, 2017, for amending Chapter 226 for Municipal Court of Traffic by adding 226-35 for making the portion of the RE Drive, which is connected to Julie Court, for emergency use only. As a resident of Hampton Ridge, I was deeply concerned about the response of residents for nearby community in regards to this decision. The idea behind this decision was not to offend anyone. It was in fact meant to maintain an environment of safety for residents, children, as well as pedestrians who frequently use Julie Court and Deborah Drive. For this reason, people speeding down this normally quiet street alarm most of the residents, as we, just like any other parent, have no children to spare. We made this township aware. We made the township aware of the situation. Speeding gauges as well as speeding traps were placed to deter the unwanted speeding drivers. To be vigilant was not enough. However, as the speeding resumed, once the speeding traps were taken away. Last summer, I personally experienced this situation where I was playing with my 3 children outside in front. A car zoomed right by my home, and as he drove by, I yelled for him to say, "Slow down." And the driver stopped the car in the middle of the road, and I thought that he was going to apologize for driving recklessly, but that was not the case. He started yelling and cursing at me. He was so loud that the residents around me came out to see what was going on. At that point, I didn't really engage him on that. I called the Township Police Department, the non-emergency number, to report the incident. The police came. While I was speaking to the officer, the driver returned, and the officer stopped the driver, spoke to him, and especially the importance of driving safely within the neighborhood. Apparently, that wasn't enough. A week later, I spotted the same driver resuming his reckless driving behavior. The solution at first were to have the neighborhood watch system, as well as additional speed gauge and increased police presence. The solution did not carry much weight in the long run as we continued to experience reckless driving, many of whom were still over the speed limit after the police presence decreased and the speed gauges were removed. The decision was made in a long-term solution that had allowed the reckless driving to be significantly reduced. I understand this may have been not been an easy decision, but was the only possible long-term solution to remedy this matter. In speaking with my fellow neighbors of Hampton Ridge, I can safely say that council made an excellent decision to preserve the safety of the residents, children, as well as the pedestrian. And thank you for the opportunity to express my appreciation.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Go ahead. No,
You'll all get a
go ahead.
chance, so
Go ahead.
the order is not as important.
Mr. Tibbs, you're next.
Good evening. My name is Laura Williams, and
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Laura Williams, and I am thankfully able to reside on Julie Court,
But you have to-
25 Julie to be
Thank you.
exact. And I also wanted to thank the council for passing the closure that was placed on Julie Court and Ari Drive. I've resided in the community probably for about 5 years now, and immediately upon arriving to that community, I was very thankful that I found a community that was so safe. And there's actually a sign right outside where we live that says "No children to spare." And my husband and I have young kids, 3 and 1 to be exact, and we actually have one on the way. And we were very thankful for being able to see that. And actually, one of the gentlemen who's here today, I remember stopping him as he was walking his dog and asking him about the safety of the neighborhood, because we knew that we wanted an environment where our kids could play in the front yard. Shortly after staying there, I've been able to stay on maternity leave twice during the 5 years that I've been residing on Julie Court. And both of my maternity leaves were 4 months at a time. And it was very apparent once I was home, because I'm a working mother typically, working from 7 to 6 pretty much. I quickly realized there was a lot of reckless speeding activity that was going on throughout all hours of the day. And there was a couple frequent flyers, I like to call them, because those are the ones that typically were the ones that were responsible. It was like 3 different cars. And actually, I noticed that when I used to take Ari Drive to leave my community, that I would see those same cars parked in in Somerset Mews. Again, not to pass judgment on any one person, because I think at any point, some of us have experienced at some point going over the speed limit, whether we did it intentionally or whether we did not do it. But I think the point that I'm addressing here is that it was so excessive to the point where my newborn would wake up because of the loud engines that would fly past the street. And we have a 2-story home, and one of the rooms actually faced that side. So it was very alarming for me, but I felt like I didn't know where to turn, because I've never been in a situation where I had to involve the police, especially for an issue like this that I can't prove. It's basically my word against theirs. So one of the things that I wanted to address is share is that I went to the police station, and shortly after I made a complaint with my husband and I, they had a presence of the police officer there, but it never changed anything. It really just continued until it became very apparent shortly after that once we had a community barbecue, that I wasn't the only one that actually experienced this. This has been a long history and a long ongoing problem. So I just wanted to kind of share that background. But most importantly, what I wanted to share is that over the weekend, actually last week, towards the end of last week, I had an exchange with Ms. McKay over social media, Facebook. Now, there's a lovely website that's for moms to kind of share advice, keep positive tips, share with one another. If we have information that we would like to provide, we would use that as an opportunity. Well, unfortunately, Ms. McKay uses as a political platform to be able to kind of, in a negative way, try to make our residents look like we're discriminating against them. And no matter how much we tried to provide solutions, because I thought that's what she was looking for solutions for her children to get safely to the bus stop, she started throwing out a lot of inaccurate statements. And one, to be exact, is discrimination. Another one is to say that if they're in back of the apartment complex, as she mentioned, if their house is burning down, then basically they would perish because there's no one to come save them. But she contradicted herself by saying that there's speed bumps in their community or we could have had speed bumps in our own community to preserve the safety of our children, but why can't the police officers or the fire department use those same speed bumps to safely get to her residence if her residence was so on fire? The point is that it was so it was so disheartening to have to go through that experience, because I've never been through a Facebook battle before, but it wasn't really a battle initially. It was supposed to be towards me helping her, provide some solutions to her problem. But it was very evident once I went through Facebook, I saw 3 separate posts on mom's websites where she was really trying to create an uprise on some inaccurate information. And I really would hope that that type of information would not go out there about our community, because we're all one community. Whether it's Ari Drive, Julie Court, Westminster, we're all trying to preserve the safety for our children and even for ourselves and our elderly parents who come there to visit or walk our neighborhoods. But at the end of the day, I think that, I know for my family, we're very thankful for the changes that have occurred since Easter weekend, which was the block on Julie, because it's changed dramatically for all those residents from both Somerset Mews, for our community and neighboring neighborhoods, to be able to safely walk both Westminster and Julie Court without having to worry about somebody, running them over or damaging their property.
That's your time.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tibbs, I promised you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Tibbs.
Good evening, everybody. Shampa Bhattacharjee from 11 Julie Court. And just want to, first of all, thank the mayor and the councilmen for putting up the blockage there, because like everybody from our community has been saying, we have seen a change. And we have been talking about this I've lived at that residence for almost 16 years now. And right from, the time we moved in, we have been seeing the speeding vehicles, and we see the change now. So thank you all. I do hope that we are able to come to a resolution about, this decision that was made in a legal and a lawful manner, because, the notice was put out, and, the councilmen did everything that was required to put this blockade up. So I hope that we can have a peaceful resolution without taking any more of your time by coming back to the meeting again and again and having you deal with this. So not to reiterate what was said before, there are a couple of solutions that we had talked about also on social media. But as I was listening to the speakers before me, I had a couple of points that I just wanted to make. Regarding emergency vehicles, there were 2 points made, that if the house was burning down, would the emergency vehicles get to Erie Drive on time? I do think that, for emergency vehicles to come through Westminster, go through Julie Court, make the turn, and then go to Erie would take much more time than coming into Ryler and going directly to Erie, even with the speed bumps. The second point that was made about emergency vehicles, that though they have a key, what if they forget it? I think that is really undermining the performance of our emergency vehicles to say that, they would forget a very important key if they had to enter the, the community through Erie Drive. I do not think these things happen, and we should not make those accusations before it has happened. Getting back to another minor point that was made, maybe we could have speed bumps on Julie to cut down on speeding. And that would have the same effect when it comes to emergency vehicles of them getting slower. So whether they come in through Westminster, Julie, into Erie, or through Ryler directly to Erie, I think that would take even more longer if we had speed bumps there. Now to come to the question about inconveniencing some people who do not have car access to the bus stop. The bus stop is quite near my house, so I know exactly where it is. And I believe that, in order to walk, past the blockage and come to the bus stop, if you had to accompany your child, would take, less than 30 seconds. It would probably take the same time that it would for you to actually park the car and, have your child get out of the car and walk with them to the bus stop, because you cannot exactly stop at the bus stop. There are usually about 8 to 10 cars lined up there. So you would not really be at the bus stop. You would have to walk those 30 seconds anyway. I understand that, Diane has a problem because, her husband is the one who is accompanying her child, and we have, talked about this on social media. If couple of things could be done is moving the bus stop maybe to the end of Airy Drive and Ryler, and I do not know if that is an option. That is something that you guys could talk about, or having that using the different bus stop, which is a little bit of a extra walk, but removing the blockage and having speed bumps put up, I don't think is a valid argument, because when you're talking about taxpayer dollars paying for the blockage, you would be spending much more if you put up the speed bumps, which would need to be maintained throughout the year, and the cost of it is substantially more than what has been spent in doing this. And the last question the issue that had come up was with the blockade. Now Somerset Mews has one entrance. Please realize that so do we. So it is not that, your community is being discriminated against. We have the exact same one entrance too now with the blockage, which is through Westminster and to whether you go to Deborah Court or to Julie Court. So I do hope that, you understand the logic of the decision and the considerations that were made when we asked for a blockage, and, the council and the mayor granted it. It is not for any other reason than to ensure safety of everybody in that community, which includes, like we said, Somerset Glen, Somerset Mews, and Hampton Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Tibbs?
John A. Tibbs, 25 Parkside. I'll be very brief. First of all, I apologize for, I just got off from work. I haven't even been home yet. So I don't have a certain time, and I think that you should look presentable if you're running for any type of government office. I want to apologize. Secondly, Mayor Kramer, I want to personally apologize to you personally, because the last time I was up here at the council meeting, I did say something that I think was a little bit unprofessional to you after you cut me off. I thought very briefly. You know how to culturally get under my goat a little bit, and I apologize for that. I really do.
I think, thank you.
I really sincerely, one other thing, I talked to some people, a lot of people in the community, in terms of the whole sidewalk issue, and we came to a conclusion that all the sidewalk issue that you guys are watching on television and so forth, that the kids are the most important thing for the sidewalks, and we all kind of proved that the fact that we wish the sidewalks to get in as soon as possible, and it's for the greater good of the kids going to school. And matter of fact, I even told them that once good things happen, if God willing, that we'll find some grant money or something to kind of subside the taxes that they would incur because of the sidewalks and so forth. And we find another way to make that not happen if possible. Another thing, do we have a list of, Mr. Horlock, do we have just a list of the paving streets that have been paved or going to be paved in the future?
On the engineering website. It's on the township website, on the engineering page.
Okay.
Up to date as of today.
Of all the streets that have been paved
All the
and
ones
going
that,
to be paved.
the prior projects and the current projects and the future projects.
Thank you very much, sir. And the RPM people, they're going to come up here later in the thing over here. There's another thing, Mr. Hornlacher. I would like to talk to you another time in terms of employment facility options during the summer and so forth.
About what? Employment what?
Facility options during the summer program with the kids and so forth.
Sure, you're aware of what we're doing now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. And that was all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbs. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leila Rajwani. I'm a resident of 2 Julie Court, and I live on the corner of 2 Julie Court, turning the traffic coming from Westminster Road, turning onto Julie Court. And my house is the first right on the right, my first house on the right. I have a gas line on the corner of my house, and there is a sign there saying it's a gas line. In the past, there has been a lot of traffic who has been speeding through Westminster Road and making a sharp turn onto Julie Court. And sometimes I would see them turning, making such a sharp turn, and I was scared that they will just turn into the bump into the gas line or drive on my lawn. So this problem had been going out for the past 17 years since we moved into the community. Sheila and myself had made a lot of effort to the township to do something about it, and finally we got the result of putting up the chain. And I appreciate that ordinance was passed and we got the chain because the safety of our kids. Back then I had young kids, and I wouldn't allow my kids to be out on the driveway or on the walking path. I wouldn't let my kids even bike the bike without any watchful or somebody watching them. So this has really helped us to reduce the traffic on Julie Court, especially the speeding. Yesterday, I was coming back from work, and I saw somebody, it was a gold Altima. I couldn't take down the number plate, but there were 4 people in the car, and each one was driving and speeding on Julie Court at 7:15 in the evening. So I appreciate all the efforts done by the township to make the community safe, the kids safe. And in the past, I always had the scare that one day the abrupt turning on Julie Court would kill somebody, hit the child, or something would happen that we as a community would all regret. So hopefully that will not happen in the future. And with that safety precaution taken, I appreciate the township. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Golvin Seshadri, 17 Julie Court. I've been in this neighborhood for 15 years, and school buses park right in front of my house. And it is the safety issue for all the children who take the bus at the bus stop. I have called the police several times personally to let the police know that people are speeding on that road, irrespective of where they come from, they speed. And then they go at a high speed even when the school buses were present. This is a problem that has been ongoing for several years, for almost 15 years. And I think the township did the right thing in preventing reckless people driving across the street. And not only there, this leads to, reckless driving onto Westminster, Whitehall, and beyond. And people come at whatever speed they want to come, and then they don't care about the people living in the neighborhood as well. It is not only our children who lives in the neighborhood, it's all those children who come to the bus stop. They are saved from this problem of getting hit one day. So this is a very good safety issue, or a very big safety issue that has been solved. And I really appreciate you guys doing this for us, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, yes, sir.
Amber Vakil, 24 Julie Court. I've been a resident of this town for about 16 years, and I've stayed at Julie Court for 16 years. First of all, I would like to thank the council for passing the ordinance. As Govind mentioned, the speedsters continue going from Julie Court onto Deborah Drive or onto Whitehall Lane, and they don't stop. During the summer months, when you're driving on Westminster Road coming towards Julie Court, you directly have the sun glare on your eyes, and you could run over some kid or someone walking over there. Last year, I was thrilled and very excited to see Franklin Township being featured in Time magazine. One of the things which really caught my attention was there was a statement made saying that despite a sizable population, residents in Franklin Township say it's a type of place where neighbors know each other and feel safe to leave their doors unlocked. Indeed, Franklin Township ranks amongst the 10 safest cities in the country. And I applaud the council as well as the firefighters as well as the police to keep this township safe because they are trying to excel at the national levels. In the past 16 years, what I've seen is the residents of Julie Court or Deborah Drive, they're even scared to go and collect the mail because they fear someone is going to run over them because of the speedsters. We have had incidents where cars have driven into people's garages, and there were speedsters out there. That's all in the records. I humbly request the council, whilst making decisions, consider the safety of all communities because all lives matter. I'm proud to say that I'm living in a township which has been ranked in the top 10 cities in the country to be the safest city in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and the council. Rishi Bhattacharjee, 11 Julie Court. My wife spoke a few minutes back. We are there for 16 years now. In fact, my daughter was 7 months when we moved, and she just had her sweet 16 last month. So I applaud you and congratulate you on this bold decision of chaining the intersection. 3 incidents that I'll mention to you, why we are so for it. I work from home. I have always worked from home. And throughout the day before the chain, I used to hear loud motorcycles, and they were going at any speed you can think of. And none of them have the noise muffler built in, those hot rod kinds. And they used to speed right through and then go to the cul-de-sac at the end of Julie, turn around, then come back racing right through. Few years back, I don't remember exactly when, but 4 or 5 years back, on Westminster Drive, a Honda actually flew from the road, and I'm talking about seriously, it was like a missile that went into the first house of Hampton Ridge. It chopped down 4 large trees and went into the garage of the owner. He was in this meeting, the last meeting. I don't know whether he is here, but it was a sight to be seen. The garage was completely destroyed. It just got stuck in the garage. And later on, I talked to the police, and the police said he was doing 85 in Westminster Drive. And this happened last year. This happened to me. I have a little Shih Tzu, and his name is Poochie. I walk Poochie every morning and every evening. A red Honda Civic came from Ari Drive, and he came and he was speeding so much, and he was talking on his iPhone or something, because I could see I'm crossing the road. He stopped about where Madam Clark is sitting right now, and it was a screech. That day, I would have died. I wouldn't have been here to even talk to you guys. That is the day I talked to all the residents who talked about this. Let's do something about it. Sheila tried several years back, and I know I applaud Sheila for that, but I applaud you guys even more for at least putting that for us. I wouldn't have been in this meeting today if he had missed his breaks or didn't see me at the last moment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Vandana Patel, 19 Julie Court. I would like to thank you, the council and mayor, for having the blockade or passing the resolution of providing a blockade between Julie and Erie. I've been in this community since 2007, and this spring was the first time I was able to send my kids to ride the bike by themselves because there were no issues of the speeding cars, the issue of speeding cars and the tailgating drivers. If you're trying to follow the speed limit, there are drivers behind you who are constantly tailgate you, they honk, and long behold, if I park in my driveway, I will see they're making left on Erie Drive. I'm not saying they're Erie Drive's resident, but they are going in that direction. Also, thank you. The bus stops have become much safer. There are no speeding cars I have seen. Even with the buses, with the red lights flashing, the cars will ignore because the buses are stopped on the Deborah Drive. They're not actually stopped on the Julie Court. They're on the Deborah. So they will just zoom by. So I really, really, really appreciate council for taking and passing this decision and making our community much safer. Safety of our kids are also important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Small. I'm at 28 Julie Court. I too would also like to thank the mayor and the council people for passing the resolution that put the gate up. I would like to talk about an incident that I was personally involved in before the chains was put there. Last summer, when I came out of my house, past Ari Drive, and there's a car coming down Ari Drive. He waited till I passed him, then he came out behind me, as he did. But I obviously, at 25 miles an hour, was going too slow for him. So he came out from behind me, he went around in opposite traffic, but there was a car coming, so he had to jump back over. So I had to jump on my brake, and the other car had to jump on his brake. He sped down the street, went through the stop sign, and made a right turn, barely stopping, and someone was in the street with their dog, and they had to pull it out of the way. So I don't know if it was this, it could have been you, I don't know. But they had to pull it. So within that one incident, he almost caused 3 accidents. Our safety is the only reason why we asked for that chain to be put there. No other reason. And that chain is there. It provides safety not only for us, it provides for everybody, safety for everybody in that community. And I'd like to thank you for that. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Orlando Ruggio. I live at 6 Deborah Drive in Somerset. And I'd like to make just this comment about the ordinance. It passed 11-0. And the community's put a lot of effort and time to be here because we do want to express our concerns individually and as a group. But we don't believe that this town council should revisit this. It's a good piece of legislation. It passed. On its first reading was 9-0 with 2 absenteeisms, and on the second reading was 11-0. So I think the standard to revisit this is not there. So I do implore the town council to have some closure in this. You've heard arguments pro and con, but it's all about safety and really nothing else. But I implore this council to understand and to obey the fact that you passed it. You passed 11-0, and I don't think it should be revisited again, and not to waste any further time on this matter going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Mayor, seeing no one else from the public come forward, I'll motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion on that motion. All in favor of closing public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. Next item is council committee reports and comments. Given the sensitivity of this matter, I'm going to break protocol, and I'm going to go first. Probably the most difficult thing for any legislator is when you have to make a decision or not make a decision that affects 2 communities versus each other. It's not a decision I entered in lightly, and I know none of my other council members entered in lightly. Few comments in regards to this. Just, I can't avoid talking about a number. I am initially an engineer. There's 9 members of council, so it was never 11. It was 9-0. A trivial point, I realize. The idea of relocating the school bus stop farther down Erie, that was looked into. Our police, I spoke to the superintendent. I've spoken to the superintendent at length multiple times about this, looking for solutions. You can't, once you go past Deborah, there's no place sufficient for a bus to turn around. So they can't go to the end of the cul-de-sac at Julie and turn around there. So that's why the bus, I presume it goes either up Julie and then turns onto Deborah, or comes on Deborah and then turns down Julie. That's done because that's what the bus needs to do in order to be able to safely turn. You never want a school bus to back up. As far as the keys, every emergency vehicle carries ball cutters or bolt cutters. If they don't have the key, they're going to cut through it, and they're not going to spend a lot of time looking for the key if they don't have it. The speed bump solution on Julie is, I understand why that might appeal to some, but this isn't just protecting the people on Julie. We would, in order to adequately do it, we would need speed bumps on Julie, Deborah, Westminster, Whitehall, probably Holland Drive, and conceivably even the end of Cordeloo. And if someone is concerned about the effect of speed humps, that would also have an effect on emergency vehicles. The other point is Erie Drive or Somerset Mews is not the only facility that only has one exit. Right next door is Village Run. Up the road is Countryside. Farther up is Hempstead. Farther up is Kingsbury. And there's one more down in the southern part of town. One of the roads is Green Manor, I think, Green Hill Manor. Again, this is a terrible, difficult decision. There is no good solution. For those of you who watch Star Trek, this is the Kobayashi Maru of the town. And no joke there. I make the reference just because people who watch Star Trek understands. There's no solution here. So in my mind, and I can only imagine in other council people's mind, safety, safety, safety. That was the thing that was in my mind, I assume other council members' mind. And anyone who has a better solution, I'm absolutely willing to hear it. I'm going to have further discussions with the school superintendent to see if there's other things that can be. And I stand ready. I would love to be a mediator or someone to facilitate the meeting of the two sides to talk, to see if we can find other solutions around this. I am available for that at a phone call. Okay, so we could work backward. Very good, Councilman Wright. So Deputy Mayor Wright.
I'll start off going, on the 15th of June, we will be having a community meeting at First Baptist Church on Lincoln Gardens. The purpose of the meeting will be to discuss recent criminal activity in the area. The Chief of Police will be present to answer questions and to answer or to provide what they are doing to lower the crime, and also what we can do to lower the crime. And it's important that we come out, 1, 2, or 3 people, and that's it, then it didn't make sense to do it, and it shows that nobody cares. And I believe we do care. Therefore, I expect everyone to show up. On the 2nd, I want to thank Mr. Tibbs for agreeing with me on the sidewalk issue. Money is nothing when it comes to our children and adults. And as the young, where'd she go? As the young mother said, we have many children, but none to spare. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Since Mr. Prasad left, I will start with you, Councilwoman Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things just to share with you. I had the privilege of attending a grand opening of a new company in Franklin Township. That's one of my favorite things to do, more businesses, more jobs. It's called Natural Medicine Rehabilitation and Pain Management. It's on Campus Drive. So it looked like a wonderful facility, everything from acupuncture, biofeedback, stem cell therapy. It's a wonderful addition to Franklin Township, and I was very pleased to have been invited to their grand opening. It was very well attended, and I wish them the very best, as I know everyone here in the township does. Just a couple of things with regard to the Franklin Day Festival. We are moving closer to the date. It's 3.5 months, which is really a couple of minutes in real time when you figure about all the work that has to be done still. But we're working on the site plan. We've added several things. You are probably aware, if you've seen the signs here in Franklin, that we have a farmer's market starting on the 3rd of June. It will be on Amwell and DeMott, and the reason I'm mentioning that is the very last day of the farmer's market. It will be held at the Franklin Day Festival. So on September 23rd, we will have the farmer's market. We're going to have an art show that the Princeton Photography Club will be hosting for us. We'll have many projects that are done by our own school children. Their ceramics, their artwork will also be there. We're going to have a banjo player doing some of Pete Seeger's songs for us. There are about 4 or 5 new items for this year, and every year we keep getting bigger and we keep getting better. So again, we're working diligently on it. Anyone interested in a table or sponsorship, please reach out to me. My phone number is right up here, or you can send me an email and find my information on the township website. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Bigger and better. Councilman Charles Oniziaka. Your microphone, please.
Yes, I don't have much to say today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say to the residents of Mount Airy Drive and all the residents that were here, I don't think that we plan on revisiting the decision that was made. So if that conversation has been out there lingering, I think that, we need to squash that tonight and recognize that we made a decision. And as the mayor said before, sometimes we make very difficult decisions here as a governing body. We try to make win-win decisions that are win-win for everybody. Sometimes that's not always the most agreeable thing to some people, but I want to thank Councilman Onyejaka, and I want to thank the mayor because I know they put a lot of time and energy into this. And my recollection goes back over a decade of this conversation ongoing about what should be done in that neighborhood. And I think you guys came up with a great solution, and I know you've tried to work with the residents that came up and spoke about some of the hardship it's caused. We're trying to do everything we can, but at the end of the day, we're talking about public safety, we're talking about the safety of our children, and I applaud the residents that have come here tonight to give us some feedback on the decision that was made and the impact that it's had in that neighborhood. And again, I want to thank the Councilman Onyejaka, and I want to thank the mayor because I know you two were out there at those meetings, working with the public, working with the community, making sure that we did the best thing, made the most win-win decision for everybody involved. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman James Vassanelli.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just a few items here. I think it's been 3 weeks since we last met, and since then, there were a couple of interesting events that I was fortunate enough to be part of, one being a West African parade a couple Saturdays ago. That good amount of us councilpeople, I can't remember exact amount, and other dignitaries, and our mayor was one of the grand marshals. We were able to have a wonderful celebration there, recognizing, celebrating the West African cultures that are become so significant to Franklin Township and surrounding communities. Memorial Day parade was canceled because of the rain, but we had what was a really beautiful and moving tribute where we put wreaths and other acknowledgments here in the council chambers. And I want to thank Bob LaCourte, along with anyone else, and I'm sure there were several, but he's kind of a leader of switching things around and be able to take a rainy day and turn it into still a somber ceremony because of the subject matter, but a wonderful contingency that we followed through with here in the chambers. Couple quick updates with committees. Hamilton Street Business Advisory Board will be meeting beginning of June, so we'll report on that. In May, they didn't have a meeting. Emergency Management Council, which is also the Emergency Preparedness Committee, which we have in Franklin that hopefully you won't hear about or need often, but is there to plan and be ready for any emergencies that may come up in this town, major emergencies or evacuations, etc. And we had a meeting, we have a few a year, and without going into a lot of detail, because I don't have any minutes from the meeting yet, main thing was there's a lot of new mandates that have come down from higher levels of government, so we need to do some more work there in that area to make us even better prepared for any emergencies that may happen in Franklin on a large scale. I think the words that were said, my colleagues to the left and right of me, summed up pretty well the situation with Ari and Julie. I'm just going to mention safety in general. By no means is this the only area in town that we've had driving issues, speeding issues, whatever you want to call it, just traffic problems that could lead to injury, and that is just a terrible thing. So without getting into the details of that, if there are other areas in town, just please be safe, politely, don't get in any conflict, but politely remind whoever it is you come into contact with to drive safely. And if there is an area that you see is gotten worse and worse and worse and doesn't seem to have any remedies in place, bring it to the council. You can bring it to me, your ward council person, the safety committee. We'll look into it. And although they're tough, and obviously our solutions don't always make everybody happy, at the end of the day, we have great knowledge in the area of safety, and I know this council puts in a lot of effort to come up with the best decision that hopefully, again, goes back to safety being the most important thing. And give me Ray, or I think there was one last thing. Oh, the Community Foundation, a nonprofit foundation that myself and 3 other council people serve on, along with a representative from Heller Corporation, Heller Industries, which is prevalent in this town. Long story short, we are on the cusp of awarding 2 $5,000 scholarships to Franklin High School seniors that are going into field of engineering. And because it is not official, we'll be meeting very soon and finalizing this. I just wanted to let you know that I think we brought this up a few months back, that it looks like it will be in place and get awarded this year, which is a wonderful thing, and hopefully ongoing every year. So we will hopefully at a future council meeting pay tribute to the Hellers and the recipients of that significant scholarship. That's it, Mayor. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman Vasanella. Councilman Ted Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of committees to report on. The Land Use and Open Space Committee met last Wednesday. First of all, we had a request from RPM for use of Township Affordable Housing Trust Fund monies. I see Mr. McBride here, no doubt, to ensure that we pass a resolution on this. They requested, and this is as a contribution for the package to get state support, and I've never quite understood the nature of these tax certificates, but to get state support, which will make possible a building of 155 apartments off 27 between Voorhees and School Avenues. They requested $985,000, and the Land Use Committee recommended $500,000, and I think Mr. McBride has accepted that that's all we can contribute, considering all of the other uses our Housing Trust Fund has to support. Back when I met with a couple of representatives of Society Hill 6 concerning Catalpa Park, they suggested, why don't we have another dog park in the town where dogs can run free, as they do in Colonial Park, but down in the southern end. We've looked into that. We have a current suggestion on a parcel of land, which actually we have not fully acquired yet, but which we are expecting to acquire. This was where the Land Use Committee recommended that we have such. But we have to also investigate it for engineering feasibility. A matter that we've talked about a good deal is what's known as the Dunn House, whose access is from Saddam Road, although it's a rather poor access of a right-of-way. You can see it from South Middlebush Road. It's a very nice house, the older part of which was built in 1799. But it costs the township a lot of money to maintain it. And it would really be better if we could sell it to a private party with a historic easement on it, that they couldn't tear it down, that they would have to maintain it in its present form, at least on its outside. Unfortunately, this got on the Green Acres roster, which makes it very difficult for the township to sell it off. Also, we want to have access from Barge Lane, which comes much closer to the house than Saddam Road. But if we wish to divert it, which is the term that's generally used, the Green Acres people would require us to come up with other properties to 2 to 4 times the value of the property that we would divert with this house. And so the committee discussed some properties that we might use for this purpose. I don't think we can talk about what properties, how at this time, but we do have some ideas that Mr. Vornlacher is going to evaluate in greater detail, including necessary appraisals to determine their value. And the process is a very lengthy process that eventually goes to what's called the State House Committee, which has representatives from the governor's office and the houses of the legislature that has to approve any diversion. And I'd actually talked with our state senator, Bob Smith, who is the Senate representative on it, and he recommended that we do that process instead of waiting for any possible change in the Green Acres procedure. Now, this is a property we did not spend any open space money on. It came to us from a developer some 30 years ago, most of which time has been taken up because Mr. Dunn had the right to reside in the house until he died, which he finally did at the age of 95. So it's relatively recently that has come fully to the town. Anyway, we are working on this, and hopefully we can achieve this better, really a better way to preserve it. And it's a house, I swear, well, it needs work, particularly for the electrical system. It's just a beautiful house to be in. I've been in it. Second committee, the Public Works Committee met this afternoon rather briefly. Consider once more the removal of some shrubs from Ridings Parkway that are an expense to maintain, clipped to the height they have to be to assure a proper sight from one side of the road to the other. Some residents have complained about the possible removal of these bushes. We have a suggestion to put in junipers instead, but we'll discuss that further. The big item is that our manager and our township engineer met with the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Transportation. We've been having a lot of trouble getting permission from the Department of Transportation to do what we need to do to make the Little Rocky Hill water main do what it ought to do, able to withstand a normal amount of pressure for a water main instead of the mere 20 pounds it currently takes. And the Deputy Commissioner has been convinced that we should be able to do what we need to do, which will not require digging up the whole main, but digging certain holes to install a flexible liner that will make the water main once again able to take a higher pressure. So hopefully we're over the hump on that, and by next spring we can begin work on that to finally bring proper water pressure to the people of Little Rocky Hill. We also discussed street overlay repaving. JFK from Hamilton to Berger is done. Randolph Road should be started in 2 weeks. The Patton Drive area, the contract should be awarded tonight, so it should be started in another month. And the next one after that will be a package of streets. It's referred to as Susan Drive, but it's also Renfro Road and other short streets in the vicinity of Renfro Road. That will be going to bid shortly. So, and we think that Highland Drive is also approved and should start shortly. But so, I've been thinking about whether to comment on the question of the chain at the end of Ari Court. I'm somewhat familiar with the area from when it was in the First Ward, and I seem to recall kids getting on and off school buses at the intersection of it's actually, I think, Reeler Court that goes out to Route 27, and that I would think would be another solution, although, you know, nobody likes Route 27. Also, I seem to recall that there is an interconnection between Ari and Reeler, so that if there were something blocking one of those, you could go up the other. Yes, there is a single exit to Route 27. As Ms. McKay said, that Somerset Mews was built about 1976, and I think we approved Julie Court about 1998, so it had a single exit to Route 27 for many years. But apart from that, I endorse what the mayor and Councilwoman Francois have said. This is a difficult decision. We always want to make decisions that will satisfy everybody. Sometimes we can't, and we have to go with what we consider to be the greatest good for the greatest number. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Chase. Councilman Prasad. And if the lights are, when do you want the
Well,
video
I'll come
shown?
to it, yeah. Let me give a quick report first, and then.
Okay. Thank you.
Some of the, well, while we're talking about it, I echo the mayor's comments and sentiments expressed by Councilman Francois on the chain issue, and beyond that, reports on various other activities. The Buddha birthday, Vesak Day, was held on May 14th, and I was there. And there was also on May 20th at the Buddha an International Peace Day observed at the same Buddha statue. And the Ananda Mandir had their 156th birthday of the poet Rabindranath Tagore, who got a Nobel Prize for literature, and also is the only person who's written two national anthems, Bangladesh and India. And the Consul General of New York was there. Briefly managed to attend the West African Day Parade, and the Compressor Task Force has been active in lobbying our lawmakers. It's not an issue that is going to go away. In fact, you may have a couple of huge smokestacks if it ever does pass. So it would affect the quality of life, safety, and health of all residents. And of course, the land use report was, I am on that committee, and Councilman Chase spoke on that, and I also serve on the Community Foundation, where our Councilman Vasanella spoke about that. And the Human Relations Commission did not have a meeting because of Memorial Day. And the admin committee met and tried to finalize the policy on memorials and street naming, and it is in the part of the consent agenda, and we will try and pull it if we can for a separate vote so we can discuss it and see if we can make any changes to it or what we want to do with it. Since I've been getting feedback that it's not up to par as to what people want in it, so we'll take that under discussion. And of course, June 6th, Tuesday, is a primary, and I urge all of you to vote. And yesterday was Memorial Day, and I want to thank Bob and Nancy LaCourte for all the effort they put in and for them to roll with the punches and adapt to the weather and be able to pull this off indoors. And I also want to thank Mr. John Walker, who for years has been donating the flowers for our Memorial Day celebrations. And finally, yesterday was also the 100th birth anniversary of President John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States. A little historical fact that our manager brought up to us was that Franklin Township was the first town in the United States that named a street for President Kennedy the day after he was assassinated on November 23rd. And that's how we got JFK Boulevard. It used to be Loop Lane, and our manager pointed that out to us. And personally, I would not be here in this country if it wasn't for President Kennedy. He did a lot for India, and he did a lot for the world. And I would like to suggest some kind of a memorial on JFK Boulevard to recognize what the Kennedy-Johnson administration has done. Some of the most landmark social safety net programs have come out of that administration, whether it's the Immigration Act of 1965 or, and he actually wrote about it, The Nation of Immigrants. And of course, his Profiles in Courage is another one. And then he wrote about what his thesis at Harvard was, While England Slept. So there's a lot of good things he wrote and inspired a lot of people. But I'd like you to now just watch this video and indulge me. This was something I saw yesterday, and it's the 100th birthday and the comments of his family members, Caroline Kennedy, and her children. So, please.
I'm Caroline Kennedy. May 29th would be my father's 100th birthday.
I'm working on it.
About him and miss him
It's
every
me
day of
controlling
my
it.
life. Growing up without him was made easier.
Problem is,
We need to on our technology.
No,
This
and
happens
I'll be honest with you, it's my laptop, and because this was such short notice, I
Right.
just only found out about
No,
it
I'm
this
not-
afternoon.
I'm not-
And
no,
the
I'm not.
volume's on my laptop, and it's not, so I'm trying to find where the volume is down.
Mr. Vornlocker, I'm not blaming you.
I know, I'm
just saying we should be able to do this.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get the speakers to play on the laptop.
Here, thanks to all the people who kept him in their
Because
hearts.
ordinarily, my laptop speakers are off because I don't want it to make noise during the meeting.
And believe in a better
You
world.
can try it, come on around
To
back.
give something back to this country that has given so much to so many.
I was.
Caroline Kennedy. May 29th would be my father's 100th birthday.
And it's on here too.
I miss him every day of my life. But growing up without
Thank
him
you,
was
Emery.
made easier thanks to all
So
the
let's
people
try
who
this.
kept him in their hearts, who
So here's
told
what we're
me
gonna
that
do.
he inspired them to work.
It's this I can do.
I'm Caroline Kennedy. May 29th would be my father's 100th birthday. I've thought about him and missed him every day of my life. But growing up without him was made easier thanks to all the people who kept him in their hearts, who told me that he inspired them to work and fight and believe in a better world, to give something back to this country that has given so much to so many. I remember hiding underneath my father's Oval Office desk when I was little and sitting on his lap on the honey fits. He would point out the white shark and the purple shark who always followed the boat, although I could never quite see them. He said they especially liked to eat socks and would have his friends throw their socks overboard, which I loved. President Kennedy inspired a generation that transformed America. They marched for justice. They served in the Peace Corps, in the inner cities, in outer space. His brothers carried on that work, fighting against poverty, violence, and war, championing human rights, health care, and immigration. As my father said in his inaugural address, this work will not be finished in our lifetime. It's up to us to continue to pass these values on to our children and grandchildren.
One of the defining relationships in my life is with someone I have never met. My grandfather, President John F. Kennedy. It's a little odd to be connected to someone you don't know, especially when everyone else has access to much of the same information about him that you do. Throughout my life, I have been able to connect with my grandfather through the study of history, which I know he loved, both studying his life and studying the eras and patterns that fascinated him. To me, that is where he lives, as a historical figure rooted in the past, but also as a person connected to so much of what came after him, through his writings and from the stories my relatives have told me. But while my grandfather had reverence for the past and the lessons it could impart, he also knew that America was a country where change was possible, where we aren't bound solely by tradition if we understand the past with which we are breaking.
I'm inspired by my grandfather's sense of equality, his courage in naming the injustices in American society, and his call for action. His words and his ideals mean so much to me and to the world we live in today. But we are still faced with tremendous inequality and injustice, from voting rights to our criminal justice system and mass incarceration. My grandfather would be proud of how far we've come as a nation since 1963, but he'd have been the first to tell us that we have a long way to go. I hope everyone, regardless of age or party, will remember what President Kennedy told America decades ago. This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened.
President Kennedy was elected on a platform of challenges and not promises, not for what he would offer the American people as president, but what he would ask of them. My favorite speech is the one that President Kennedy gave at Rice University, where he makes the case for sending a man to the moon. He said that that challenge was worthwhile not because it would be easy, but because it would be so hard. My generation will inherit a complicated world with countless unsolved problems. Climate change is just one of them, but it's the type of challenge I think my grandfather would have been energized about and eager to solve. He cared deeply about the environment, about science and technology, and he recognized that only if America leads the world in solving global problems can we make sure that it's done right. From that speech at Rice, and from the space program he helped launch, we can learn a simple but important lesson. Great challenges are opportunities, and it is each generation's responsibility to meet those challenges with the same combination of energy, faith, and devotion that President Kennedy and his contemporaries displayed decades ago. I know that we're up to the task, but we have to demand action from our leaders, and we have to vote.
As his family, we're so proud of what my father stood for during his life and how powerful those values remain today. I hope that these reflections on President Kennedy's life and his influence on those of us who share his legacy will encourage people across the United States to look at challenges in their own corner of the world and seek solutions that heal, lift up the forgotten, and make a difference in the lives of others. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Very touching, very moving. Councilwoman Chanel Robinson had sent me a text. She couldn't be here tonight. She is actually with Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, as I understand it. I'll let her fill you in on the details, but she asked me to read the following. No committee report for me. Great Memorial Day ceremony in spite of the parade being canceled. Met a few members of Team RWB, Red, White, and Blue, led by Jules Daigle. Team RWB's mission is to enrich the lives of American veterans by connecting them with their community through physical and social activity. And their website is teamrwb.org. I went to this is Chanel Robinson speaking, went to the State House in Trenton, where the Franklin girls basketball team received a proclamation from Assemblyman Danielson for their accomplishment of being the state tournament of champions, finishing number one in the state. That's from Councilwoman Chanel Robinson. My closing remarks are also to thank my friend Bob LaCourte for arranging the Memorial Day ceremony and jockeying at the last second to come up with an indoor agenda. I think we've set a new protocol for when we are rained out for some of these ceremonies. We can at least have the ceremony indoor. And that completes council comments. Mr. Manager, have you a report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick note to mention, some of the other council members have already mentioned the fact that we have our farmers market starting on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. Just one thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm bringing it up on my computer now that I got the YouTube off it. The Franklin Township's construction department is now offering inspections on Tuesdays and Fridays between 6:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. in an attempt to be more responsive to our resident public, more so than the businesses who have to go to work. You can now contact the construction office between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. and request that your inspection be done during that 2-hour window from 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning on Tuesday and Friday mornings. And that's all I have to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. The next item is council discussion. We have two of those. The first is scheduling a public hearing for Catalpa Park improvements. Mr. Manager. Or is that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As was requested by council almost a year ago now, when we had the last public hearing of Catalpa Park, the plans have been modified at the request of council on a certain number of issues. Those plans have then been taken for review to the Land Use Committee of Council, the Open Space Advisory Committee, the Trails Advisory Committee, and the Advisory Recreation Council, and the Planning Board, and all have prepared reports to be presented to council at another public hearing. My suggestion at this time would be for June 29th, given that that is the fifth Thursday of a month. And generally speaking, there are no committees held, no committee meetings held on the fifth Thursday of any month. So if there's general agreement from council, I will have the clerk schedule that special meeting for that date, and we will post a sign at the Catalpa Park site for residents, as well as post it on our website and advertise in a normal manner.
Any objections?
Oh,
Yeah. Sounds good to everybody?
Hearing
Yep.
none, sounds good.
Madam Clerk, if you could make a note to get that special meeting advertised. Thank you.
The next council discussion item, this was actually originally on the consent agenda, but I think it is of such importance, I wanted to bring it forward so that council would be able to formally hear about it and make any decisions as needed. So this would be Resolution 17-210, authorizing amendment of the spending plan and authorization to execute developers agreement, RPM, Churchill Millstone Mixed Income Development. Why don't, yeah, do I have a motion? Well, I guess we'll have the discussion first, and then we'll go for the
It's a
motion.
council discussion item now,
Right,
Mr. Mayor.
right,
So
and then we'll-
my suggestion would be that we ask the executive director of the
Yes.
redevelopment agency, Mr. Healy, to come up to the microphone.
Yes, sir. Good idea.
Good evening. I'm Mark Healy. I'm the Planning Director and the Executive Director of the Redevelopment Agency. What you have before you is, as was stated by the Mayor, an amendment to the Affordable Housing Spending Plan. When there is a request to use the Township's Affordable Housing Trust Fund in a way that hasn't been previously approved, you need to prepare a spending plan that shows basically the amount of money that you have in your trust fund, how much money you project to have in the future, and how that expenditure kind of fits within the overall spending plan of the township for affordable housing. The township has received a request in the amount of $500,000 from RPM to use towards their next phase of their development. As the council, I'm sure, is well aware, RPM is one of the designated redevelopers in our redevelopment area. They've been working with the redevelopment agency for a number of years on the next phase. The next phase is a total of 151 units. It's in the Churchill Millstone residential zone. It's a completely, entirely compliant development in terms of the redevelopment plan and the zoning. They've recently received a preliminary and final site plan approval by the planning board. Importantly as well, and part of working with the redevelopment agency over the years, the redevelopment agency has been pushing RPM to make a number of different changes to their overall development program, one of which is a reduction in density. The development is about 60% of the permitted density in the zone. We've heard concerns by people in the area and residents in general, and the redevelopment agency, I think, was kind of ahead of the curve in terms of concerns about lack of open space. So one of the key components, and frankly, the main point of the design, kind of the driving factor behind the design of this next phase, is incorporating an open that they would own, but it would be open to the public. They've also reduced the scale. Previous developments that they've proposed were 4 stories in height. They've stepped it down to 3. And lastly, we've also been trying to push RPM to basically kind of speed up the pace of the development. And one of the ways to do that is to do kind of larger projects, or at least use a larger amount of land area. And this is a total of 6 acres. So in terms of the overall amount of land that they're using, this is considerably larger in terms of footprint than the other developments that were approved and developed previously. So in summary, in terms of the spending plan, if you have, I believe you have the plan, it's in your packet. If you go to page 14, there's a spending plan summary, and I'll just go through that very briefly. Currently, there's a balance of, or at least at the beginning of the year, a balance of about $3.6 million. Obviously, we want to project the amount of money that we're going to have over the next 10 years. That's the time frame for this type of exercise. I've extremely very conservatively estimated about $150,000 in revenue each year. I say that that's very conservative because we've already collected, I think, between $300,000 and $400,000 already this year. But I wanted to be very conservative, not overestimate the amount of revenue that would come in. Some years there's more money that comes in than others. So basically, between now and 2026, I've estimated that we would have about $5.2 million to work with as part of this plan. And then obviously on the other side, we want to look at expenditures. So the amount that I've indicated for rehabilitation is $2 million over the next 10 years. Historically, we've used community development block grants almost exclusively for this program. This allows for, if we needed to phase that program towards use of our Affordable Housing Trust Fund, this allows, typically rehab job averages about $20,000. So this allows for about 100 rehabilitation projects, which is well more than we typically have in a 10-year period. So we have well more than enough money than we would need for rehab. The Habitat for Humanity, that $72,000 is the amount remaining in our agreement with them. Then you can see the next line is the $500,000 that RPM is requesting, and that fits within that new construction category. Affordability assistance, we have a remaining obligation of $1.365 million. I think that the vast majority of that is probably going to be in the form of the program that Franklin was kind of ahead of the curve in terms of the down payment assistance program and the foreclosure prevention programs that we developed with Central Jersey Housing. We have again up to, I put in here $965,000. But there's no reason we can't use the full 1.365 for that program. We've spent about $400,000, so again, well more than enough if we want to continue that program at the same rate. And then lastly, administration, we have a cap of 20%, and this 1.258 is basically the 20%, where you assume that 20% cap. So again, this the document is more than just this one page, obviously, but this basically summarizes the plan.
Questions for Mr. Healy? No questions for Mr. Healy.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, that land use did extensively discuss it, reviewed all the projections, and in that sense, we even worked with RPM to try and negotiate the least amount that the town would spend and be we wanted to fulfill our fiduciary responsibility, and this is something that we finally came to agreement, and it is the land use recommendation that this resolution be passed. And so in that sense, I would like to move that we approve this resolution 210.
We're not ready for a motion yet.
Okay, well,
But thank you.
we'll make that motion when the time comes. All right, thank you.
When was that land use meeting?
Land use was last week.
I reported on that.
I'm making a point, Councilman, but thank you. Okay. Anyone else? So, I have a comment. Mr. Healy, you are an invaluable member of this township staff, and I take what you say as virtual gospel, because I've never known you to be wrong or to do anything but in the interest of the town, and this is not leading up to that I don't believe you now. Or that which I do not have the power to do, by the way. My concern is actually with the timing of this. I asked the manager, and I basically told we have to make the decision tonight, and council is just hearing about this tonight. Am I correct that we have to make a decision
Yes,
tonight?
you do.
And if we don't, what happens?
then in all likelihood you jeopardize RPM's availability to qualify for the funding that they need to complete this project.
And this is for affordable housing.
This is for the housing in the redevelopment area, and I believe that it includes some component of affordable housing.
It does.
It's not, obviously, it's not
50
all affordable units.
55%
Right.
affordable,
Yeah,
45% market rate.
Which I did neglect to indicate in my summary, which is frankly another thing that redevelopment has been trying to work with them on. Prior phases of RPM's developments have been 100% affordable, 85%. We're trying to get them to more of a mixture, and this is 55% affordable, 45% market.
Now, granted, we have the money, and this is what the money is for, precisely this kind of thing. But, and there are other ways we can spend it, but it just bothers me that an important decision like this is brought before us with no additional warning. And RPM, I know, I once swore to RPM I would vote no if that ever happened again, because this has happened multiple times. And Mr. Healy, you're standing there, so I'm saying this to you. I am not admonishing you, Mr. Healy. I have the utmost respect for you. But I don't like this part of it. I don't like that it's not come before us. We could have been told 6 months ago that that this was, if you knew 6 months ago, if RPM knew 6 months ago, I really think we should have had further warning, even just to mention. I could have sat down with the manager, looked over some of the numbers. That was not afforded to me.
Mr. Mayor?
Sir?
Just to comment that in our committee system, this was brought to land use, and it was discussed in the April meeting, where RPM asked for $900,000, and we told them, no way, and we negotiated back and forth, and they did a great job to bring that request down to $500,000. So, and we talked about it in the last meeting. We've discussed that in our reports.
Mayor?
Mr. Vasanella?
So, without dragging this on, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Vasanella.
Without dragging
Mr.
it on
Vasanella has the
too
floor.
much, I'm going to suggest you're both kind of right, where, yes, it came in April, but I know at that meeting it was even discussed in line with, I think, what are some of the mayor's concerns, and perhaps some of the others of us on council, is that even April, when projects of this significance and this amount of money is being talked about, and the complexities of the funding, I sat here in this council room a few times over the decade, and it was understood that more time not only is appreciated, but really needed to be fair to the town and all the components involved in making appropriations like this. So, yes, it did come in April, but when you're talking about the timelines and past experiences, that still, I think we would all agree, is a little late in the game. So, just for my input, my opinion, to give a little perspective of what you were both commenting on, you and the mayor.
Any other comments?
That's just the nature of their application processes. And I agree with you that this is not the way to run things, but they are backed up and they're making those applications, and to make it more worthwhile and be ranked higher, they are asking for the township's commitment towards it, and that is why they have come to us.
I understand. I'm
Right.
just concerned about the timing. Any other comments?
So Mr. McBride is out in the audience. Would you come forward for a minute? I'd like to hear from RPM directly as to your process and why this has come
And I'm going to interrupt for 1 second.
in immediate.
Mr. Healy, again, this was not an admonishment of you. You are an invaluable employee of the town.
So can you just speak to the timeline
Sure,
of, you know?
absolutely. I mean, I'd like if the council would permit it for me to speak for a minute and show you something of what this actually is that we're talking about. I think that's an important element here.
Sure.
Is that okay to share that, just a 1 minute with you?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Yeah, it'd be nice for the council to see the site plan and the number of units and the whole concept plan for the project.
If you have any extra, you could hand them to the press. That would be good. We have 2 members of the press here.
The press, that's,
Okay, thank you.
thank
But
you.
we have another member of the press in back.
So without going into too much of the history here, should I hand over the other one to?
Yeah, why don't you hand him one of mine, and I'll look on with Mr. Vassanello.
one page summary.
Without going too much into the history here, good evening, everyone. Glad to be before you again. As you know, we've been working here for quite some time, about 10 years, and we've completed 3 developments to date. As Mr. Healy mentioned, you know, most of that development has been fairly dense, affordable rental development. We started to move the needle a little bit in the direction of doing mixed income development with the Voorhees Station project on Route 27, which is 20% market rate with some commercial. And over the last couple of years, we've been in conversations, multiple conversations with the redevelopment agency to craft a development that was going to satisfy a somewhat different set of goals than we had addressed before. Just to reiterate briefly, less density than before, building something closer to 30 units an acre rather than 50 units an acre, which is permissible in the zone. Doing more of a concentration of market rate and affordable units, and creating open space in the neighborhood and creating connections in the neighborhood. Among those connections, sidewalks throughout this neighborhood in the parcels, the 6 acres that we're working on, as well as kind of reconnecting these 2 huge kind of semi-industrial parcels back to the rest of the town. At some point in the last 50 years, they were consolidated into these 2 enormous blocks that just kind of wound up being these blighted industrial sites. So we're going to reconnect them to the entire neighborhood. And you can see a little bit of the picture of what we're going to do in those renderings. Another big piece of the puzzle here was to change the unit mix as well. We only have a small percentage, about 15% of the development is going to be 3 bedrooms, with the idea that we're concentrating on 1 and 2 bedrooms, especially on the market side, to attract a diversity of people of all different household incomes to this area, with the goal of just creating a different kind of neighborhood with people of all different, you know, positions in life and incomes and ages, just to bring a different feel to the neighborhood and get a different kind of energy to the neighborhood and more people in the neighborhood on the street. I think one of the interesting things about the design too is that there are a few dozen units that look like they're multifamily units, but they're actually direct entry duplex units onto the street. So that means we'll have a lot of front doors that face the street rather than having buildings that only have a single main entrance. And I think that's a really positive thing from a land use point of view, because it means that you just have a lot more eyes in the street, people walking around, people coming in and out, people sitting on their stoops, etc. And the green space element here, I think, is kind of the key to all this because the development really centers around that. It provides a public open space, the only public open space in this area, in this redevelopment area. And furthermore, it'll look like open space. It'll look like public space, but it'll be privately managed. That's part of the agreement that we've drawn up, is that we will manage it ourselves in perpetuity. So, the reason we're here is there are certain elements of the development that made it impossible, or I can say completely infeasible, to apply for the typical set of funding sources that we get to build these developments. The two main reasons for that are the smaller number of 3 bedrooms. And to back up a second, when we apply for funding to the state HMFA, it's scored on an objective point scale. And at this point, with all that's going on with COA in the state, it's extremely competitive. And winning and losing projects are separated by fractions of a point. And this may be actually a year where it would be difficult to win if you're not a perfect scoring development. We would not get points for 3-bedroom units because of our commitment to change the unit mix in this area. Therefore, basically out of the gate would be infeasible. I'm sorry. Yes. So that's number one. Number two is we had extensive conversations about how we could structure this development. One of the conversations was around whether we could come to you to seek a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes, of course. We ultimately decided not to do so because of earlier conversations about the town not wanting to consider a pilot for the next phase of the development. That pilot would have represented a great source of support for the development from a financial point of view and a predictability point of view, but we decided not to do that. We had extensive conversations with Mr. Healy's office about that possibility, and that was really over the course of the last 6 months or so, but ultimately came to a conclusion that it just didn't make sense in general to seek that kind of support from the town. So that's part of the reason why we got kind of to a point of looking to seek these trust funds at a later stage than we would have liked to, because we were really trying to look at a number of different tools that could be used and ultimately put in a request for the trust funds alone. Just to give you a little background on the trust funds themselves and why they're needed, we are applying to a different funding source reserve called the Mixed Income Reserve, just reserved for developments like this that are a combination of market and affordable units. And there's only one project in a city and one in a suburb that's awarded funding under this reserve per year. So it's highly competitive. It's not scored on a traditional basis. It's scored only on the basis of what's called a tiebreaker, which is the amount of funding per bedroom that you're requesting. So effectively, it's a way for the state to incentivize supporting developments that towns themselves are supporting and that other funding sources are coming in to support. In other words, developments that are asking for the least amount of state funding that they can in order to make themselves feasible. So the more funding that we have from non-state sources, the better our tiebreaker, and the basis for deciding who wins and loses is the tiebreaker figure itself. So that's why we initially requested what we thought was justifiable under the Affordability Assistance and Trust Fund rules of the 900,000 figure, because that would have produced a better tiebreaker. We understand that the town cannot support that kind of request, and in conversation with Mr. Healy's office, we scaled it back to 500,000, which is still helpful. It's just not as helpful it would have been as the 900,000 would have been in making the development competitive. But it'll still help as we go head to head with other developments that do have support from the towns where they're located. So I think that's kind of the big picture. I'm glad to answer other questions if folks have them.
Is there anything you could have done to make your request more timely in advance? There seems to be a concern here that it's at the 11th hour.
Like I said, this was the product of some time negotiating, of how we could craft a development that would be competitive using the tools that we have at our disposal, including those the town has at its disposal. We don't like being in a position of asking for something at the 11th hour. It doesn't, we have no incentive to do that at all. Case in point here, because nobody likes it, yourselves being the first. But we had a long series of conversations about how we could craft this project to be competitive, and I think the approach that we settled on was this one, but it came out of a long series of conversations that took some time.
And did you initiate those conversations?
I don't know. I mean, how long have we been talking about? I don't want to go too much into the complicated variables that we were talking about. But
I mean, it's tough to say exactly when I mean, the overall issue has been
A week, a month, 6 months?
I would say that the actual request, that was probably started to, probably 3-4 months was when we really started to talk about the request, and then it kind of coalesced to some degree in the discussion before the Land Use Committee in April. Councilman Prasad summarized the discussion there. Then it was brought back to Land Use Wednesday. At the committee level, like this kind of seems to be how the process is, and then now it's.
And I'd further comment that the project plans have been to the planning board, and the planning board has approved them. And also, of course, this was discussed with the redevelopment agency, I don't know how far back, because they had to be involved in the acquisition of the land. So the project has certainly been going on for quite a long time.
I've known about the land, I've known about the project, I love the design. It was just this request for money.
Well, that's what, this kind of thing is what we have that fund for. And there are other projects. We had a commitment of $800,000 to the Penrose proposal, one which has never surfaced. They've never gone forward with it. But we've had substantial commitments of this nature in the past.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
I'd like to just make a comment, if I can. So RPM has been a prominent redeveloper in our redevelopment area, and they've been partners with the township for quite some time. And being a part of the redevelopment agency for over a decade myself, I know that we've had, and Mark, you can attest to this, we've had extensive conversations with them about this concept, about the design, about projects moving forward, and they've been pretty much working very well with the redevelopment agency to make that area revitalized. And they've also, I've been involved with them regarding some of the youth projects and some of the partnering they've been doing with us over at the senior center over at 25 Parkside, letting some of the youth groups use the community room and the things that they've been doing to work with the community over there, with the senior citizens. And so I think they've been great stewards, and I think they've been great partners, and that area is in need of redevelopment, and I believe that although the timing is not the most ideal situation that we have going forward here, but I think that we need to move this project forward, and considering all the investment that they've done in that area, I just wanted to speak and say that, I certainly appreciate being on the redevelopment agency, all the work that you've done to partner with Franklin Township. And not to mention the award-winning project that was done over, is it Voorhees? Was that the one? Voorhees was, which one was the one that they won the award?
Berry Street, I
Was
believe
it Berry
was.
Street?
I think
RPM,
each
both of them.
And Parkside as well.
Parkside, I would say, I
All
think
of their projects have
everything's
been-
won an award of some sort or another.
Yeah.
At least that's what I always see when I go to Atlantic City
Yeah.
for the League of Municipalities and talk to Brendan there. I believe that each
Right.
of our projects has been given awards by the state.
Thank you. So they put us on the map. And I apologize, I'm speaking kind of strange here, but I have very bad allergies. I'm so congested. I'm like in pain. But anyway, just wanted to say thank you. And if you can do better the next time in terms of timing, by all means, try to do so. Thank you.
It is a record-breaking allergy year. Councilman Murray.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to echo former mayor and councilman at large, Ms. Francois. I would like to echo those statements because I'm also on the redevelopment agency. And Mr. McBride has always come with some interesting projects, and we've always accepted them in that with a little bit of change here and there as to what we need and want. They definitely have been good stewards, and I would like to see them continue.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I just have two quick questions for Brendan.
Of course.
Brendan, the first question is, and I may be asking you to state the obvious here, but what will happen if you don't receive the funding from the state?
We'll try again.
Next year?
Well, hopefully. Assuming that the funding guidelines are the same, which is not a small assumption given the fact that we're going to have a change in gubernatorial administration. We would go back for funding next year and hopefully be able to figure out another way to get it done.
Figure another way to skin the cat.
Yep.
Got it. All right, so question number two is, what is the deadline for you to file?
Oh, it's imminent. It's tomorrow.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, we thought we had a bit of breathing room, and I think the last meeting was canceled.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I noticed the woman with the allergies carrying a flower.
I don't know where this came from, honestly.
It was left over from yesterday.
From Memorial Day.
Welcome, Ms. Robinson. I hope your meeting with the Congresswoman went well. And Mr. Prasad, you had a motion.
Yeah, I make the motion that we pass Resolution 210.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, seems like we should call a roll on this one.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Thank you. That was a yes. That was a yes?
That was a
Okay.
yes.
3 yeses?
Oh, he said yes.
That's how we got the 11 before. All right, I'm trying to catch my place here. That's it for council discussion items. We're on to item number 10, approval of the minutes. We have none to approve. Item 11, approval of the warrants. Warrants in the amount of, thank you, gentlemen. Warrants in the amount of $20,323,040.63 on May 30th, 2017 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do we have a motion to pay the warrants?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion on the warrants, questions for the manager? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes.
And just something that I've mentioned this before is I've wondered, how could we be spending $20,000 a month, $12,000 a month when we have a $60,000 budget? It's because much of this is passed on to the school boards and county, et cetera.
A $16,000 budget? I
You mean
wish we
millions.
had a
I said 60.
$60,000
It's
budget.
60
million.
There you go.
I saw the zeros in my mind.
Mr. Mayor,
And
Just
I'm an
a few more zeros there,
could I
boss.
interrupt you for 1 second in the council because it skipped me and it came right off the top of my head. I want to talk about Diamond Miller from our high school.
Okay.
He's not in the middle of a vote.
Franklin High School basketball team standout Diamond Miller is one of 18 women high school basketball players in the running to represent the United States in the 2017 FIBA America's Under-16 Championship in Argentina. Miller is competing to make the team that travels to Argentina at the United States Olympics Training Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. She's going through a training process, even though there are 18 finalists, and on that team, only 12 will be chosen to travel to Buenos Aires on June the 4th, and will compete again in that tournament. So that's something that to be proud of, that our girls are out there, they're playing, and it just goes to show you that Franklin Township does produce great athletes, but at the same time, we also create and produce great scholars. So I just wanted to bring that up to you. I want to thank Bill Bowman, because I looked at it and I just kept trying to remember where I saw it. And I think it's good reading. It's kind of long, so I won't do that to anybody, but 16 and under team, national team, you're going out there to play, and start out with 60 or 70 girls, and now you're down to the final cut, which is 18. Man, that sounds good to me. That sounds real damn good to me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We now return to our regularly scheduled council meeting.
You don't like that promo, man? I mean, come on.
I love it in the proper time. So public hearing and adoption of ordinances on second reading, we have none. Ordinances on introduction on first reading. Ordinance 4202-17, an ordinance releasing, extinguishing, and vacating the rights of the public of a street known as a portion of Martin Street in the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey. The foregoing ordinance is presented to Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, and publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, June 13th, 2017 at 7 p.m. At the municipal complex. Do we have a motion to set the public hearing?
So
Motion to
moved.
introduce.
And a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. So very briefly, this is actually for the RPM construction.
No,
Or-
you obviously have forgotten our conversation already,
Did,
Mr. Mayor.
yeah.
No, this is for a development on Hamilton Street in
Oh,
the
right.
business district.
Yes.
Thank
One
you.
of the,
Okay.
okay, thank you. One of the buildings that is being constructed in the redevelopment of Hamilton Street. This is a paper street. No one actually lives there. There's no real street there. But this is necessary in order to allow them to purchase. Yes, I guess I have RPM on the mind. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
Ordinance 4203-17, an ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, Somerset County, New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 236, Municipal Services, Schedule A, Somerset Gate. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on May 10th? No. That's what it says here.
June 13th.
Must be June 13th, 2017, at 7 p.m. at the municipal complex. Do we have a motion?
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So very often, or when there's a development in town, after everything is finished or more or less finished, the township takes over certain services. That's what this is about. This is for Somerset Gate, which is on Route 27, near some of these developments that we've just been discussing.
It's actually in the redevelopment area. It was a different redeveloper that redeveloped that parcel.
So we have a motion and a second, and any further discussion? Public hearing. Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright.
The items I'm sorry, we are now moving on to the consent agenda resolutions. Items A through AI, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Anyone wishing to pull an item for questioning or for separate vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
So we now have resolutions to be voted on separately. Resolution 17-219, honoring naming of the intersection of Ambrose Street and Pearl Place as, actually, Mr. Councilman Vasanella, I know this one is near and dear to your heart. Why don't you read it, even though I've pretty much read it?
I'm sorry, Mayor, just,
I had forgotten.
Resolution 17-219, honoring naming an intersection of Ambrose Street and Pearl Place as Sadati Plaza.
Is presented to Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion on it? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
We are now on to item number 16, old business. The 2017 boards, commissions, committees, vacancies. Does anyone have any nomination? Hearing none. We are now going to go into executive session. Well, at least I'm predicting that we will be. Resolution 1720, authorized executive session, potential litigation, Williams Transco matter is presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
So at this time, Township Council is going to adjourn to executive session to discuss potential litigation with Transco. Afterwards, we're not going to take any action except to come out of executive session and to close the meeting. So taping is going to end at this time. Everyone have a good night and be well, Franklin.